Savage Truth presents live from the King's War Chariot, somewhere outside of time, from the dimension of the impossible being possible, the mysterious realm where dreams are formed and destinies are birthed, standing on the edge of eternity where truth and faith merge, calling out, wake up.
Seeking truth.
Seeking truth.
Dismantling lies.
Dismantling lies.
It's time.
Time to unpod.
Satan has 4 faces, at least. He's a cherubim, isn't he? Have you skipped that detail in your studies before? You know that cherub have 4 faces, and despite the baby appearances, you know what they really look like. Plug on my page, I've covered it if you want to go find it. You know that cherubim have 4 faces, so Satan, being one of these, has 4 faces too. One the appearance of a man, lion, eagle, and ox. We'll be coming back to this more later. Also, he was created like this, but seems even greater, with a brighter light. Something very specific. He was even created with music inside of him, one of the fascinating mysteries about ranks and glory of different angels in creation. And this one particular being, who was probably a cherub, even having some sort of seraph abilities, seraphim being fiery serpent, and Lucifer, Hasatan, the devil, with all this dragon, Satan, serpentry imagery. Also, he has the ability of shape-shifting. Aside from taking the form of a man, which I'll come back to, he masquerades as an angel of light. He wears masks. He can shapeshift. He can totally rearrange his atomic structure and digitally render it and update it at will. Some sort of frequency manipulation. So he comes in disguises, built with music in him, a special type of cherub, which is probably why he struggled with pride as his major downfall. Also, another detail you may have missed with these fascinating beings, the cherub, is that they have hooved calf feet. So if you were to see them walking or hear hooved calf prints on your wooden floor, just kidding. So they have hooved calf feet and they have wings with eyes. This makes me kind of think of a peacock's wings. They probably have wings that look like that, but way more beautiful, that probably have some form of literal eyes or the ability to see dimensionally in ways that we couldn't comprehend. Some have 4 wings, some have 6 wings if you read the scriptures. So probably again with different rankings. And do wings play into rankings? And do fallen ones still have wings? Did they get stripped of their wings? It's a good question. My theory of everything, I've covered how fallen angels go to different countries and start religions and they can actually be traced. We're going to focus in on the Hindu culture, blue gods, which are probably form of cherub, obviously. Brahma having 4 faces. And if you look at the Hindu blue gods theme, and this blue cherubim, Lucifer is often depicted as blue. Blue sometimes is red, but if you look historically and even into esoteric studies, Lucifer is depicted as blue. Even sometimes with people being possessed, asking Lucifer to possess them and paint them in the dark, came up with blue paintings. And this has happened more than once where he was depicted like this in these types of rituals as a beautiful blue man in that type of appearance. Now also think of Avatar. In the movie Avatar with the blue gods, which are from history, depicted as blue, even making its way into other supposed fictional works, probably based off reality. The X-Men, X in the genetics, again genetic altering from the fallen angels, but Azazel, who's a literal fallen angel, is in the X-Men and he's blue. Also Beast and Raven, I think that's her name, Raven. There's multiple blue characters that are angel-like or fallen angel-like in the X-Men and lots of other places in Hollywood as well. Also, Blue Angel is a term. The Blue Angel Jets. This is actually a term. Pazazu is a being, which I think was probably one of these fallen cherub, which was documented in statues and lots of other statues like this across time and cultures that supposedly had no connection with each other. Also, invisible shape-shifting, frequency cycling, chameleon-like abilities to instantly appear as one thing, whatever it wants to be. Also in the book of Job, Satan said he had come from walking to and fro on the earth. This obviously could be an invisible spirit form or in the form of a man, which we see that angels completely have the ability to do. Colors always mean something in the Bible, but cherubim are often depicted as bronze, which I find kind of fascinating. Also, aside from the fire in their craft, you can also find that on my page again, the cherubim videos I've done, but there's a wide range of what bronze actually looks like. Check out some of these pictures. But bronze constantly reflecting off the fire, especially in the crafts, is the appearance that the prophets frequently saw. God's voice is also associated with the cherubim wings. Sounds like a major army. God's voice also associated with many waters, shofars, lions' roars, and thunder, all the same thing being compared to cherubim wings and God's voice. Also, I talked about initiation into this mysterion, which is a way I described it, which is actually how Paul described it, just trying to break free from the limits society has put on this understanding and see how deep it really goes. But the initiated ones hear and see different things because their ears and eyes are open than what normal people see. There's an example of this in the Bible when Jesus was baptized. Some people, the closest ones, the ones that were more initiated, they actually heard the voice of God with specific words. The ones that were less close, they heard a voice, they knew it was a voice, they couldn't discern words, and they said it was the voice of an angel. And then the ones who were completely dull and far off, they literally just heard thunder. They said, nah, y'all were tripping, basically. It's just thunder. People do see and hear different things based on the level of opening of these inner eyes and ears that I talked about in UNPOD 1. So the sound of God's voice being associated with the cherubim wings. Another interesting mystery I covered in my last UNPOD was how cabbage is associated with the etymology of the cherubim. You can check that out. So bronze. Jesus is also depicted as having bronze elements in his appearance in the book of Revelation, as well as white hair. We're going to shift for a minute and back into the Blue God theme. Check out this clip real quick.
We have someone whose medical knowledge seems so advanced for his time.
Sushruta is also considered to be the first practitioner of Ayurveda, one of the oldest known systems of medicine in the world. According to Hindu legend, Sushruta is said to have received this knowledge from a god known as Dhanvantari.
And Dhanvantari was a high-level god, as we would know them, who provided all the information on this complete healing modality based on an understanding of the physical and subtle aspects of the body. And it was passed through to Indian culture in ancient times and has been preserved and expanded since then.
Though he is most often depicted as having 4 arms and holding medicinal herbs, the god Dhanvantari was also a shapeshifter. According to legend, during his journeys to Earth, he could take on other forms, including that of a bird. Is it possible that both Dhanvantari and the half-man, half-bird Egyptian god of healing, Thoth, were connected in some way? And if so, how?
Whether it's Dhanvantari or Thoth, we learn of these extraterrestrial divinities very often being portrayed as bird-like beings who delivered the knowledge of ancient medicine to Earth. This tells us that our original knowledge of medicine, human anatomy, and how to heal the body came from extraterrestrial sources.
Sushruta was very clear in stating that he learned this knowledge from the gods. Who were the gods? Extraterrestrials.
Every culture will tell you that the first surgeon, that medicine, that healing was a gift of the gods. And that is extraordinarily interesting because it really shows that the benefit of mankind was accomplished through the intervention and the knowledge of the deities.
The same patterns of cherubim, Tetramorph, Sphinx, Lamassu, hybrid, cherubim, guardians, griffins, it's all in the same train of thought. the 4 living creatures. I wonder if this ties in again with what I covered, the stork's myth, basically flying creatures delivering babies. Probably printed right out of a new Eden-style Tree of Life garden center, right after a reset. This whole giving knowledge pattern, kind of like a man or a city man going into a tribe with a cell phone and other technology, convincing them that they need it all, and then they get completely hooked, spiritually degraded, and become totally worthless. Probably not too far off, except the spiritual manipulation here is even way worse. Also, all this stuff is related to genetic manipulation, and at some point in time, the cherubim probably made other cherubim or faux versions of themselves. And again, this is where you see a lot of the guardians and cherubim themes around the world. Also, ancient AI statues and other things that they may have made. Terracotta warriors, or even worse, things that could be reanimated, that are in a suspended form, have a spiritual treaty, or just waiting for the right technology to re-emerge again to animate it all. This all comes from the Anunnaki, who, when they descended, this group of fallen angels, they were depicted with wings and a beard, and again you see in Egypt and China, both copying with the wooden beard pattern. Sphinxes, guardians in temples and all over the world, but with this guardian theme, the origin is really from Eden. And if you're paying attention to details, it's not an angel with a flaming sword. It's an angel, a cherubim, and a flaming sword. This flaming sword seemed to operate independently, like synced technology, like you also see their thrones have an element of synced technology where their spirit was in the wheels. Their spirit probably is in the sword. And in movies like Guardians of the Galaxy, you see these super weapons that take out a bunch of people instantly. Probably the same concept of an angel being able to control one of these flaming swords that moves independently of him, not restricted to being in his hand. Kind of an interesting thought. Also, this concept that there are forbidden places that man cannot enter, that's guarded, the breakaway civilization concept again. Also, when the angel killed 185,000 Assyrians in one night, you could probably use that same mental image of the sword, and that was how it was accomplished, probably fairly quickly. Dragons are also seen as guardians, mostly to the underworld though, as opposed to places on earth like cherubim. Even Leviathan is an underworld guardian and a dragon, and Satan, Hasatan, is what he's called in Hebrew, meaning the enemy. Also, aside from the cherubim, shapeshifting, and man elements, is also depicted serpentine as a dragon. Reptoid, again, which the seraphim, cherubim, super type of angel with a super bright light, Venus the morning star, full of pride, worshipping himself. Each angel and star has their own glory and brightness, according to the Bible. He was one of the highest. Made special in some kind of way, but, then he worshipped himself. Or did Satan, has he altered himself in some sort of way with all this line of maybe him being the first person to, or not person, but the first one to genetically alter himself and teach that to other angels maybe. This brings us into a fascinating mystery about the bull-cow thread that you see all over the world. The reason why cows are sacred all over the world ties into the cherubim. Remember, it's one of the 4 with the bull. Phrases like holy cow, holy moly, which is Molech. Holy Molech is, a bull god that they sacrifice children to. And this sacred cow theme is also why it was the first thing the Israelites did was build a golden cow. Think about this. They're seeing all these signs and wonders. Moses is literally on top of the mountain getting the law, and for some reason they want to build a golden cow to worship it. Holy moly, holy cow, origin. Also, the womb being in the shape, supposedly, of the bull. The Taurus, the age of the beginning of mankind, was the age of Taurus. And Aleph, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, the pictogram is the bull. Apos, the bull in Egypt. Osiris in the afterlife being associated with this. And also Zeus taking the form of a bull in mythology. Which, by the way, was considered religion, but now they call it mythology. I wonder why UFOs, for some reason, need cows. In the UFO mutilation abduction scenarios, they always need cow parts for some reason. Also, in the Hebrew culture, the red heifer sacrifice, also tying into this with the cow. Steak, top offering and favorite meal of many, probably tying all into this. And one of the weirdest things, what I talked about, the ancient breakaway civilization continent of Mu, That's supposedly what cows say. Aside from cows, Thoth, which is really pronounced Tehote, took the form of an eagle. If you look at that Teotihuacan, it's really Thoth's name, probably the city of Thoth, Tehote. Lion gods, like Narisima in the Hindu culture, Sekhmet or Magus in Egypt, cats in general, lots of cat gods. Wrapping this up with the final side of the cherubim, the final appearance is man. Interesting how these invisible beings, interdimensional angels, can take our appearance and even walk amongst us, and we can't tell the difference. In the Old Testament, this happened frequently, where those beings walked amongst us in the form of humans. You see that in the promise of Abraham, you see it in Sodom and Gomorrah, as well as other places. Also, Paul talked about that we have entertained angels in human form, unaware, and didn't even know that they were angels. Interesting, you can go out into society, pass angels, probably in the form of homeless people that no one helps. Interesting how these angels could be amongst us. Tying in probably to concepts like inner earth, breakaway civilizations, places like Shangri-La or Mount Shasta. Was Abraham's bosom one of these for a specific group of spirits in the afterlife? By the way, when you're a spirit, you're still you. Still the same consciousness, just slightly altered, and your light form of a body might be a little bit different, but it's still you. Lots of other angel classes, beings, and specific species of spirits, which we'll be covering next time. Terms like unclean, or when you hear spirit of infirmity, spirit of confusion. And again, hearing something like this, an unclean spirit, is a very specific species, which we're going to explore next. Unique tasks, unique forms, ranks, abilities, and assignments of these species of invisible beings that are in league with fallen angels and the dark side and the Matrix in general. People perish for lack of knowledge, but we're going to dismantle the lies and shatter all of it here on The Savage Truth. And remember, like He-Man, you have the power if you have Yeshua and his blood running inside of you and the sword of the Spirit in your palm. Hidden lesson in all of this, some of these beings have worked their way into a non-redemptive status. And as a lesson for us still here, probably aside from a hidden lesson, might be the biggest lesson of all, is that while we're here, we are still redeemable. We can still ask for forgiveness. We can still change, repent, make different choices that affect eternity in the afterlife. Until then, unpod from the Matrix. See you next time on The Savage Truth. Remember, only one being has the power to save you from this Matrix. Jesus.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Agents of the Matrix only exist to make me like them. I won't be like them. I won't be like them. No. Faith is what you make it, only exists to be more like him.